Hey guys, it's Glenn from GlennCarCollection.com, and today we're driving one of my favorite cars, the Audi R8 Performance. We have our two keys here, and we have a 5.2 liter V10 producing over 600 horsepower. I think it's about 602 horsepower, 613 foot-pounds of torque. So the Performance model is over the base. It's basically Lamborghini Huracan underneath. You basically have the same engine. For $28,000 more, you can get the Performance. You get more horsepower. I think it goes from like 562 to 602. Torque goes up to the 613. You get a little over 200 miles an hour top speed. You get bigger brakes. And you get a fixed suspension. So instead of having the magnetic dampers of the base model, this gives you a fixed suspension. So this is like the R8 Animal, the most aggressive one you can get. And the new grille has really grown on me. So for 2020 and up, they changed this grille. I think the last year for this car is going to be 2023. Maybe it comes back with some kind of electrification or hybrid, most likely. But if you want a naturally aspirated engine V10, this is your last chance to get one, and I highly recommend it. I'd love to keep my 2011 R8 V10 manual as an investment and get one of these to drive every day or almost every day. So let's take a look at the car. We have a front trunk, which I've showed you in other videos. You're going to be most interested in the engine, which we'll show you in a second. So this has a lot of options, this car. It's got carbon fiber everywhere, just like my R8. And you have the upgraded seats here, the diamond stitching. To me, this is a very important option. I just think it's a much better seat. It looks a lot more fancy, more expensive. The Performance model essentially replaced the Plus model, I believe. So you have a carbon fiber spoiler. The spoiler comes with it. You see a lot of base models or non-performance models, they put the spoiler on it so it looks like the Plus model. Here it is in all its glory. Now, the same thing with my R8, and I'll pop this in a second when we start the car. You can't pop this unless you start the car and the engine's running, and then you do the engine latch. So it makes no sense. You want to pull in for cars and coffee. Half the time you forget, you park the car, you want to show one of your buddies the engine, you got to go start the car to lift this up, which makes no sense. Why would you do that? So special thanks to DCH Montclair Acura for Kareem, who took over for Tim to allow me to drive the car. Talked to the sales manager there, Mark, Nitin, Pikel, the salespeople, Bonnie, Anthony. They all helped make it happen when I bought my Acura RDX. Fantastic dealership to work with, new and used Acuras, plus Porsches, exotics, you name it. All right, so you get ceramic brakes on the Performance model just like you did on the Plus. You get bigger. I think they're 15.5-inch rotors, 15.4, maybe 14-inch rotors in the back. So they're gigantic. So you have Lamborghini Huracan brakes here. 20-inch tires. Let's see, we got 305/30s in the back, 20 inches. ZR is the highest rating. I forget. I guess they can do the 200 miles an hour. Oh, so they look like the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Wow. So I have those on my S2000. That is a great tire. Ceramic brakes, you can tell. Porsche does yellow brake calipers like the GT2. I'm not sure which video. I just drove a GT2. I'm gonna post first. But Audi, the bigger brakes, I believe, are red, and you can tell just by the texture of this rotor here that is ceramic brakes. I love the look of this car. It looks like it has the black package to me since the L emblem is blacked out, and you have carbon fiber. So let's take a look at the inside. We'll start the car so we can get a good look at the engine. All right, so I'm gonna just put my seatbelt on to start the car, just so you guys, you don't hear that annoying chime. And if you're familiar with any Audi, it's pretty much an Audi steering wheel, you know, with some performance options here that you won't get in your Q5. All right, now that's that V10 to life. Now, if we wanted to show my buddy or you guys, my subscribers, my buddies, the engine, the car's got to be running. And then I have to do this latch here, just like on my car. Oops. And you got to pull this up, and now the engine opens. So it makes no sense. Now, there's a lot of heat back here. Mine is kind of vented on the sides, and I guess this is, oh, not really. So you could really feel the heat. I just had it up to take pictures, so it's not that hot right now, but it was really hot when I drove it to this parking lot here. So there's some venting on the sides here. You can see that V10 in all its glory, 5.2 liters, essentially a Huracan motor. Just amazing. They're not making them like this anymore. I highly recommend this engine, whatever R8 you get. All right, nice and easy to close it. Now the old ones, my side blades in the first gen comes all the way through here, right? So 2017 on, they kind of split that side blade. All right, so we'll get inside. Now it's a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and this one is all-wheel drive. There are rear drive versions of these cars. We have an RWS, which was a 2018 model, and I love that car. All right, so the good thing about this is it gives us the sport exhaust, so engine sound just to sport. All these other controls, your HVAC controls are exactly, for the Q5s I reviewed, exactly the same. So you have the Google Earth and everything right in the thing here. And actually, your backup camera is there too. Of course, the sun is going into clouds when we drive. So here's my backup camera. So the only downside of the backup camera, just like the newer McLarens, when we back up, I can turn and now block it, say if I'm coming out of a parking space. So that's the downside. But just like the TTRSs, instead of having everything here, this generation has it right here front and center. Now we could do drive select. We can go into comfort mode, sport mode. Now all these modes, I believe, are going to shift for us. So let's see, we have to go into the sportier modes. Now we could take off the traction control. That's why everything turns red. Of course, we don't want to do that. So what we want to do is we want to drive in manual. We're shifting the gears, and that's what it's giving us right now. So let's see, we're going to go in dynamic mode. Now dynamic mode, we're going to be in sport mode, manual 1 instead of drive 1, which means I actually have to shift the gears. Wow, you feel so low and the car just handles so flat with the all-wheel drive. The rear end does move around a little because of all the torque and power. Now, even with the fixed suspension, it's probably stiffer than the regular base R8. If anything, with over 500 horsepower and a V10 is called base. But the ride is actually so far pretty good. I'll try to hit some bumps on purpose, and I can tell you there's a lot worse riding cars than this. And if we take all these modes off, which I'll do in a minute, it's just a regular Audi. Like, you feel like you're driving an A4, which makes it incredible. So you really could take your significant other out to dinner, or take some rides with your friends or your grandma, and they probably wouldn't notice the difference that this is such a sports car. So now we're going to come to some real cool turns. It looks like we have a lot of traffic in front of us, so I'll turn around and take the turns a second time where we'll have no traffic. What I love about this car, so I love naturally aspirated engines, and that's why one of the reasons I bought my 2011 V10 manual. But the power's up high, right? So you got to rev it out. So when you get to the Plus and the performance models, instead of having 560 horsepower or whatever, you have 602, and that really makes a difference. The power comes out a lot stronger and a lot sooner, at least it appears to be. Now, this 7-speed dual clutch really is just as good as a PDK or a McLaren transmission. It's really impressive. We'll also check it around town to see how that does in traffic. I'll try to give us a little gap here because there's some really cool turns. These cars are beasts. Like, I love like the newer sports cars too, and now they're all going hybrid and stuff like that. But in a way, this is kind of old school, but you have like new school tech, and I almost think that's kind of like the perfect combination. All right, so what I'll do here is I'll stop, put it in first gear, at a dead stop, and accelerate. And you get all those backfires, all those crackles on the exhaust. That never gets old. Now, I believe that you always drive in manual mode. I know it would be faster there if I let the car shift for itself, but why not have some fun? Oh, look at that. What's that, a Fiat Spider? Cool. Now, I'm filming this in January, so not the best day. Imagine the heat. That guy probably has no heat in his car, and it's 30 degrees out. All right, so let's take those S-turns one more time. We'll signal downshift to second. Oh, in dynamic mode, it's a rough downshift for sure. Like it should be, you know, it's giving you some theater on purpose, you know? The dual clutch transmission is fantastic. I would say just as good as McLaren and PDK. Wow. Amazing. You got your horsepower and torque meter here. And with the all-wheel drive, it just makes it amazing. So very comfortable. I thought, you know, with the fixed suspension, it would be a lot harsher. The magnetic suspension, of course, makes it a smoother ride. But I think you could really drive this every day. The seats are very comfortable. It's so roomy in here. So what I heard Matt Farah said, and I think he's right, he said the difference between this car and a Huracan is the Audi R8 has a 5-inch longer wheelbase, and it all goes to interior room. So I can't even drive in a Huracan convertible. I'm 6 feet tall, and my head hits the roof, and I don't have a helmet on, nothing, right? So here I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm wearing a GoPro hat to film this. I probably got another like 3 inches. So it is very, very roomy inside. All right. But let's do it. I hate to do this, but if I put engine sound standard and now drive in comfort mode, now it's a Q5. So you can do whatever you want in this car. You could take it shopping, commute to work. I mean, the downside, of course, has got to be gas mileage, right? But you really have a reliable car. Like Audi, would you take this? A McLaren or this? I would definitely take this. You get a better sound. It's a V10. It's reliable. It's cheaper to get a warranty on it. So I would say R8 all the way. All right, so this is a long traffic light, so I'm going to end the video here. Special thanks to Kareem and DCH Acura in Montclair, New Jersey. Guys, remember, like, share, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what car you want to review next. Browse their inventory and say, Glenn, how about you do a review of this car? Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Of course, I got to change everything back to the sportiest modes now. All right.